It is my privilege to participate in honoring the senators who have gone before us. It was my good fortune to serve with Senator Ed Emery, a fine Christian example of a statesman. Senator Emery was gracious and kind, always displaying the greatest patience, even when disagreeing over policy. I did not serve with the others, but I have often been reminded of their work as the senators of today seek answers to current issues. Each of us in the Senate today owes a debt of gratitude to those who served before our time. We hope to serve as honorably as they did. Now, to honor our departed senators, I would like to introduce President Pro Tem Caleb Rowden and Minority Floor Leader John Rizzo.
Thank you, Senator O'Loughlin. Please join me as we remember Senator Wayne Good. Wayne Good served in the 13th Senatorial District between 1984 and 2005 after having been in the Missouri House for an impressive 20 years. After graduating high school, Good briefly served in the Army before returning home and running for the legislature, where he would be elected at the age of 25 and begin his 42-year career in the Capitol. As a legislator, Good successfully sponsored legislation to establish the University of Missouri St. Louis. Known as the father of UMSL, Good's mark on higher education in Missouri is undeniable. Good was also very passionate about the environment. Among his many great accomplishments, Good passed Missouri's first law for the safe disposal of hazardous waste in 1977. He also passed legislation regarding standards for drinking water, groundwater protection, cleaning up waste disposal sites, and requiring the state to monitor radiation more closely. The impact of Senator Good endures today as we honor his service and work.
Senator Dan Brown served the people of the 16th District, which included Camden, Pulaski, Phelps, Crawford, and Dent counties. Senator Brown was a graduate of Houston High School, received a BS in agriculture from the University of Missouri-Columbia, and earned a doctorate of veterinary medicine from the University of Missouri College of Veterinary Medicine. He practiced veterinary medicine for over 30 years in the Rolla area and served on the Missouri Veterinary Licensing Board. Senator Brown served in the Missouri House of Representatives for 2 years before being elected to the Missouri Senate. I had the good fortune of serving with Senator Brown. He was the appropriations chair during my first couple of years in the Senate. I was not on appropriations when I first got into the Senate, but graduated into that role in my second year. And you will never meet someone who clouds and shrouds grace in gruffness quite like Dan Brown. Dan was not you, Justin. Dan was a tremendous person. He was a tremendous senator. He was filled with compassion and filled with love. It just took you a second to find it, to get to it. But once you got there, you felt it. Dan served this chamber and the people of Rolla and the surrounding areas with tremendous grace and dignity, and he does leave behind quite a legacy in this chamber. So we are honored today to honor Senator Dan Brown.
Please join me in honoring Senator Chuck Graham. Chuck Graham served the people of the 19th Senatorial District, at which time included Boone and Randolph counties. Before this, he worked as the coordinator for the Americans with Disabilities Act project at the University of Missouri-Columbia. Chuck was then elected to the Missouri House of Representatives in 1996, becoming the first Missouri lawmaker to use a wheelchair. He was a nationally renowned public speaker who traveled throughout the state and country, motivating people to get involved in their communities. Senator Graham fought for his beliefs, his constituents, and his state. And today we honor his life and his contributions to our state in this chamber.
Senator Dan Clemens served the people of the 20th District, which included Christian, Douglas, Webster, and parts of Greene counties. Raised in High Prairie in Webster County, Senator Clemens was a Marshfield High School graduate. He attended the University of Missouri-Columbia, where he earned his bachelor's and master's degrees in agriculture. In 1970, he went to work for the U.S. Department of Agriculture Farmers Home Administration as a loan officer. He moved his family back to High Prairie in 1973, where he actively operated the third-generation family farm raising row crops. Always civic-minded, Senator Clemens served as the president of the Marshfield School Board and on numerous boards, including the Webster Electric Cooperative Foundation Board and the Missouri Farmers Association Corporate Board of Directors. In 2002, he was elected to the Missouri Senate, where he served for 8 years. We honor today Senator Dan Clemens.
Please join me in honoring Senator Raymond Howard. Raymond Howard was a senator for the 5th Senatorial District. He was born in St. Louis and served his community as an attorney before being elected in 1964 to the Missouri House, where he served 2 terms. While a representative, he was a founding member of the Missouri Legislative Black Caucus. He was then elected to 2 Senate terms in 1968 and then again in 1972. Serving as Minority Caucus Secretary during his 2nd term. After his political career in Jefferson City came to an end, Raymond Howard continued to serve the city of St. Louis as a lawyer and as a member of various boards and organizations. Today we honor former Senator Raymond Howard for the work which broke barriers and moved an entire state forward.
Senator David Doctorian served the people of the 28th District in Northeast Missouri for 3 terms. He was an immigrant, farmer, educator, ordained minister, and author. Born in Lebanon on November 9, 1934, Senator Doctorian and his family lived in the poverty-stricken Armenian Christian quarter of Jerusalem. In 1963, he said the Pledge of Allegiance and became a United States citizen. He earned master's degrees in American history and political science, had a 12-year career as an American history and civics teacher, and served 14 years in the Missouri Senate. A lifetime of hard work, aspiration, and dedication paved Senator Doctorian's way, not just to America, but to Missouri and his 800-acre farm outside of Macon. I did not have the privilege of serving with Senator Doctorian, but I've heard numerous times of the incredible story of resilience that he and his family brought not only to this country, but also to his service in the Missouri Senate. And today we honor Senator David Doctorian.
Thank you. Please join me in honoring Senator Sidney Johnson. Sidney Johnson served his community in many ways over the years, including as Buchanan County Presiding Commissioner, Buchanan County Collector, and as the state senator of the 34th Senatorial District. In the Senate, he served as Assistant Majority Floor Leader and chaired 7 committees during his tenure. Sidney also earned a degree in agriculture economics from the University of Missouri and received an honorary doctorate of education from the Missouri Western for his work as Vice Chair of the Senate Education Committee. His commitment to the people of Buchanan County and school children across the state is remembered here today.
Senator Ed Emery. Edgar Ed Glenn Harvey Emery. It's the first time I knew he had all those names. Served the people of the 31st District, which included Barton, Bates, Cass, Henry, and Vernon counties. A native of Vernon County, he graduated from the University of Missouri-Rolla with a degree in engineering and worked in the oil and gas industry until returning to Missouri in 1994 to raise his children and to be closer to his family. From 2003 to 2010, he served 4 terms in the Missouri House, representing the 126th District. He was elected to the Missouri Senate in 2012 and re-elected in 2016. I'd like to echo the sentiments and the comments from Senator O'Laughlin. I too had the privilege of serving with Senator Emery, and you will never find a more gracious individual to ever hearken the halls of this chamber and of this building. I saw him numerous times interact with and have very strong philosophical disagreements with people who did not believe anywhere near what he believed, but he spoke to them with grace and with dignity and with compassion And even though he may not have believed what they were doing or why they were doing it, he genuinely cared for each and every person as an individual. And we all know where Senator Emery is now. And I have this thing in my brain that as he is approaching the pearly gates and Peter's there, somehow he's going to get into a bit of a philosophical disagreement with Peter as he's walking through the gates of heaven. That's the kind of person that Ed Emery was. He is somebody, out of all the people that I served with, and there have been many, he is somebody that when I have tried to figure out how to get past a tough situation, I ask myself, what would Ed Emery do? And even more importantly, how would Ed Emery do it? And he was a tremendous friend and colleague, and someone who left quite a legacy in this chamber and on this earth. And so today we honor Senator Ed Emery.
Please join me in honoring Senator James Matheson. James Matheson served the people of the 21st Senatorial District. In those days, this included Pettis, Saline, Sheraton, Lafayette, Ray, Caldwell, and part of Jackson counties. He was first elected to serve in the Missouri House of Representatives in 1974 and was re-elected twice. Jim was then elected to the Missouri Senate in 1980 and served a total of 6 terms. In 1984 and 1986, he was chosen as Majority Floor Leader of the Senate. In January 1989, he was unanimously elected by his peers to serve as President Pro Tem of the Missouri Senate, and stayed in that role until 1996. Jim Matheson is the longest-serving President Pro Tem in Missouri Senate history. Jim was here for the Senate memorial we held in 2017, and today we honor his undeniable legacy and life well lived. Unfortunately, I did not have the honor of serving with anybody that I am presenting today, but I did have the honor of knowing Senator Matheson from when I was a kid. He and my dad and former Senator Pasco worked on a lot of legislation together, and I can only think that he is looking down on us today as this kid that he used to know, memorializing him, saying, "Good job, kid. God love you." Thank you.
Joe Henry Frappier served the people of the 2nd District, which included St. Charles County and part of St. Louis County. Born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, he earned his bachelor's degree and an MBA from Indiana University. He served in the United States Marine Corps as an engineering sergeant in the Korean War from 1952 to 1953. His first taste of public service was as PTA president at his daughter's elementary school in 1962. He ran for Florissant City Council in 1963 and served until 1966, when he was elected to the Missouri House of Representatives. While in the Missouri House, he served as chairman of the House Minority Caucus for 4 years. He was elected to the Missouri Senate in 1974 and was re-elected in 1978. Today we honor Joe Henry Frappier.
Please join me in honoring Senator Stephen Sharp. Stephen Sharp served the 25th Senatorial District, which included Butler, Carter, Dunklin, Pemiscot, Ripley, and Stoddard counties in those years. Prior to his service in this chamber, he served our nation as a member of the United States Army, where he earned a Bronze Star during the war in Vietnam. After his tour of duty, he earned his law degree and was an attorney before being elected to the Missouri Senate in 1984 and then re-elected in 1988. During his 2nd term, he was appointed as presiding circuit judge for the 35th Judicial Circuit in 1990. He would serve in that role for 22 years, the longest time that any presiding judge has ever served in that circuit. His commitment to rural Missouri, our nation, and the pursuit of justice will be remembered here today.
Dr. James A. Noland served the people of the 33rd District, which included Barton, Camden, Cedar, Dade, Dallas, Greene, and parts of Hickory, Laclede, Polk, Texas, and Webster counties. Born in Max Creek, he graduated from Max Creek High School, received a bachelor's in education and a master's degree in public school administration from Southwest Missouri State University, and ultimately a doctorate in education from the University of Missouri-Columbia. He proudly served his country in the United States Army Air Corps and Air Force during World War II. He served for 8 years in the House of Representatives before being elected to the Senate in 1964, where he served for another 8 years. Over his professional career, he continued to advocate for education as a teacher, principal, professor, superintendent, and commissioner of the Department of Higher Education. Dying at the age of 96, today we celebrate Dr. Jim Nolan.
Please join me in remembering Senator Charles Wheeler. Charles Wheeler served the people of the 10th Senatorial District in Jackson County, when the 10th was still in Jackson County. Senator Wheeler was a graduate of Westport High School and got his bachelor's degree while he served in the United States Navy during World War II. He earned a medical degree and his Juris Doctorate from the University of Missouri, Kansas City. Dr. Wheeler was mayor of Kansas City from 1971 to 1979, during the time when Kansas City International Airport opened. He also helped develop Kemper Arena, the Bartle Hall Convention Center, and the UMKC Medical School. Charles was first elected to the Missouri Senate in 2002 and served one term. Today we honor his service and memory.
Senator Ron Richard represented the 32nd Senatorial District in southwest Missouri, which consisted of Dade, Jasper, and Newton counties. He is the only Missourian to have been elected by his peers to lead both legislative chambers, serving as Speaker of the House from 2008 to 2010, and subsequently as President Pro Tem of the Missouri Senate from 2016 to 2018. After graduating from Missouri Southern State University and earning a master's degree at Southwest Missouri State University, now Missouri State University, Ron Richard entered the public service arena in Joplin during the 1990s and was elected as a councilperson and mayor. Senator Richard was a member of the Joplin Elks Lodge, Joplin Chamber of Commerce, NFIB, Kiwanis Farm Bureau, Scottish Rite Bodies, Knights of Columbus, Professional Bowlers Association, and the Missouri Higher Education Savings Program Board of Directors. He was named the 2003 MSSU Outstanding Alumni, received the St. Louis Business Journal Legislative Award and Community College Award, and was honored with multiple RCGA Statesman Awards and served as the 7th District Delegate to the Republican National Convention. I did have the privilege to serve with Senator Richard. He was the President Pro Tem when I was first elected to this body in 2016. And suffice to say, I would not be here literally if it were not for Ronnie. My election, as many of you well know, was a tough one, and a bunch of money getting thrown around. We're not supposed to talk about politics in this building, but I'm going to do it today. And we had a little shortfall that we had to figure out how to get, and Ron basically just emptied out his campaign coffers to get me elected. And he told me about that every day after, for as long as we served. But when I got here, it was very quick and very apparent to me why Ron, the guy that you would maybe look at and listen to initially and say, okay, I'm not 100% for sure how this guy standing in front of me became the guy, the only Missourian in the history of the state to serve as the Speaker of the Pro Tem. And then when you watch him do what he did for about 5 seconds, you'd figure it out. Ronnie was a tremendous leader. He just did it in a much, much different way than most folks do it. He did it with authenticity. It was not clouded in politics. It was not clouded in anything else. He just told you what he thought, and if you didn't get on board, he was probably just going to try to run over you. That's how he did what he did. I was on both sides of those political fights from time to time, but there is nobody, as most of you know, I'm now the president of the Senate, and I get to occupy the office that Ron had, and we get to have our picture on the composite with all the other pro tems. There's a bunch of great guys on that pro tem composite, 2 of which are sitting over here. But for me to be able to be on the same picture with Ron Richard is something that I will always be honored by. I will never be as good of a leader, as strong of a leader, and as good of a man as Ron Richard was, but just to be able to be a part of his legacy in this Missouri Senate, even for a brief time, is something that I'm incredibly proud of. So today we get to honor the life and the service of Senator Ron Richard.
Please join me in honoring Senator Yvonne Wilson. Yvonne Wilson served the people of the 9th Senatorial District, which included parts of Jackson County, including Kansas City, where she was born and raised. Before beginning her legislative career, she spent 35 years as a teacher, principal, and director of elementary education in the Kansas City School District. She also became the first African American to serve as president of the Missouri Association of Elementary School Principals. In 1991, Lincoln University bestowed Wilson with an honorary doctorate of humanities degree. In the late 90s, Yvonne was elected to the Missouri House of Representatives and was then elected to the state Senate, where she served until 2010. Upon her death in 2019, her friend Congressman Emanuel Cleaver said, "Yvonne Starks Wilson was a trailblazer, a dedicated public servant, and an unflinching advocate for children and families throughout her career." I never had the honor to serve with Senator Wilson, but I did know her very well, and the kindness and joy she brought to any room was spectacular. I did have the honor of serving with her husband, Mr. Wilson, as I lovingly referred to, on the board at Truman Medical Center for quite a time, and they were peas in a pod, and great people who you would be fortunate to be in a room with. Today we honor her advocacy, service, and groundbreaking career. Thank you.
Thank you. Please be seated. We will now have Majority Floor Leader Cindy O'Loughlin join us once again for some closing remarks.
Thank you, Governor Kehoe. Thank you to each of you, family and friends, who attended the ceremony today. We forget sometimes the critical work that is done by those senators who served before us, the progress made through their hard work and sacrifice. It is our privilege to pause the work of today so we can remember the work of yesterday and honor those who helped make Missouri a better place. Thank you for joining us today, and I also want to extend a heartfelt thank you to all the families who have sacrificed so much so that their senator could come to this chamber and try to forward the state of Missouri and help make it a better place to live. Thank you very much.
If you would please rise for the benediction by our Senate Chaplain, Reverend Stephen George.
Lord God, we know that those who believe in you, even though their earthly bodies die, their lives change but do not end. They still live in your presence. I pray and hope today for the families, friends, and colleagues of the senators we just honored, until they are reunited again in your kingdom. Help them to love and serve you in this world, that they may also enter into your joy and rest. We pray this in your holy name. Amen.
At this time, I'd like to recognize members of the Memorial Committee. You're welcome to be seated. Today we had a lot of work goes into these planning sessions. I've been a part of them, honored to be a part of them before, and I know they don't come together by themselves. Senator Caleb Rowden, the President Pro Tem of the Senate, you heard from. Senator Cindy O'Loughlin, the Majority Floor Leader. Senator Jason Bean, who is Assistant Majority Floor Leader. Senator John Rizzo, who you also heard from, is the Senate Minority Leader. Senator Doug Beck, who's the Assistant Minority Floor Leader, and as anybody in this body knows, there's always prepared remarks, but there's always somebody who is left off. And Patrick Baker, who's our Senate Administrator, along with I call them the ladies in the well, Christina and Elaine, thank you so much for putting this together. This doesn't happen without you guys really making it happen. Or as one of our memorialized senators called Patrick, just Baker. On behalf of the Missouri Senate, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's memorial service and like to invite all of the family members, friends, and former senators to a reception immediately following the ceremony in the Senate lounge. Have a great day and safe travels home. God bless each and every one of you.